Okay, sixth grade, we are going to be making some Hamsa hands from clay. Our end product could look something like one of these, where you could use 3 colors or 2 colors. Here we go. So these are the things you're going to need. You're going to need a clay mat, 2 slats. We refer to these as railroad tracks in here. We need a rolling pin, and rolling pin we refer to as a train. Some other items you'll need for this project include a straightened out paper clip. We use this to cut clay with in here. A Hamsa Hand template that you can use to trace. Some texture plates, which I will provide. A cup of water used for smoothing and sometimes attaching. We'll also have slip. Slip is here, and that is just watered down clay. We call that the glue. But you don't want to use too much or it'll look chunky. And a bowl that your Hamsa hand will dry in so it takes the shape of a curve. So you're going to get started by rolling your clay out, making sure that your rolling pin stays on the wood here. We don't want it to roll off the wood like this because then your clay will get really thin. Our goal here is to roll out this clay until it gets to the same thickness as this wood right here. So this wood is like 1/4 of an inch thick. So we're gonna put our body weight down on this clay to get it moving. Our goal here is to make sure that this hand fits on here. So it looks like my hand already fits, but sometimes you need to turn your clay different directions so it rolls out a little wider in some places. If your clay is still moving, that means you are not down to the wood yet. Okay, so yes, our Hamsa hand is gonna fit. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna pick out, I'd say 1, 2, or 3 different textures to put in your Hamsa hand. You want to make sure that your textures are not on top of the wood slats. And you're going to gently now roll, making sure that rolling pin is staying on your wood slats. You always want that train to stay on the tracks. And you're going to roll this out. Now we're going to carefully peel our texture plates off of our clay. Sometimes it gets a little sticky, so be careful when you peel. Okay, so there are my 2 textures. The next thing I'm going to do is put my Hamsa hand down. You need to decide where you want it to be, what textures you want showing. I'm going to move mine down a little bit because I really like this texture down here. In the art room, we use straightened out paper clips to cut our objects. So I'm going to make sure my paper clip is nice and straight. I'm also going to make sure it's nice and straight going up and down all the way around my Hamsa hand. So we don't want to curve in at any point going this way or this way, always straight up and down. So take your template away and take your extra clay away, and here's your Hamsa hand. So the next thing we need to do is we need to put an eye or some type of object in the center of our Hamsa hand. So in class we talked about objects that are lucky. So you can put anything that has meaning to you in the center. I've had people put like 4-leaf clovers, horseshoes, anything like that that has any meaning to you. I'm gonna do an eye in the center of my Hamsa hand. So how do we start with an eye? We're gonna start by rolling a sphere shape. And I'm gonna take that sphere shape and I'm gonna cut it in half because I want it to be flush up against my Hamsa hand here. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create some coils to go around my eye. So just rolling them on your clay mat. I always kind of like when it tapers into a thinner point there. Okay, so now I'm gonna go up and around. I always like when it has a little curl, but you can do whatever you want with your eye. So I'm gonna go like that. I'm gonna roll this coil a little bit thinner for the bottom. Okay, so after you have your eye looking the way you want it, what do we need to do next? Well, we need to scratch our surface so that our eye sticks. So I'm just gonna make some hash marks here, and also on the other side of my eye and my eyelashes. Just like a cross hatch. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some water on the back here. And I'm gonna stick this stuff down. Make sure everything's nice and smooth. So in here we use water to smooth. We also want to make sure that these edges are smoothed as well. Okay, so take your fingers, go around the outside edge of your Hamsa hand, get rid of any of these extra chunks. Like I just had a chunk there, I smoothed it out. All right, and we're almost done. The last thing we want to do is carefully pick up our Hamsa hand. So to do that without going like this and digging underneath it, take your mat and flip your hand upside down like this so that it goes into your hand. And before you put it anywhere, I want you to put your initials up in the finger part of the hand. And then we're gonna gently place it in the bowl. Make sure you're centered from side to side. We're gonna tap it down in there a little bit. Make sure everything's nice and smooth, exactly how you want it to look when I give it back to you. And this is how we're gonna let it dry. And then they need about a week to dry out. We'll put them in the kiln. And then we're gonna add a crayon and ink technique to them.